Welcome to the Venly Expert Talks, where we aim to inspire Web3 builders with great stories from great minds. I'm your host, Alexandra Ahrens, and I'd like to remind you that you can always reach out to us on Twitter, Discord, or LinkedIn with ideas for the podcast and questions for our guests. We are no longer streaming since we want to make sure the podcast has the best possible quality. For that reason, I will announce our guests on social to give you enough time to post your questions beforehand. Today I want to welcome Diego Borgo, an NFT strategist and advisor who has worked on pretty epic brands and NFT projects, including Adidas. We'll talk about how brands can join the metaverse and NFT space in an authentic way. Diego, if you want to just start out, I'd love to hear about a little bit your background in life and how you got started.
Nice. Thanks for having me, first of all. Appreciate the platform, and I'll do my best to add as much value as I can. Background story. I've been consulting brands for about 8 years for now. I've been consulting Adidas for about 4 years. I've been in crypto since 2017, and in NFT, I'm like full time, let's say, because it's a 24/7 job. I've been in the NFT space for about 10 to 11 months. So that's kind of like my background. Majority of my career is spent consulting brands from the client or the agency side into digital marketing and digital strategy. That's kind of like how I navigated the sort of like the career space. Majority of the time, I've been a lot freelancing as well, or consulting, or working externally with several different brands within lifestyle and entertainment. So that's kind of like where my background comes in. And stoked to be here and happy to chat.
Great. Awesome. Then we can jump right into it. So when you're working with those brands, what kind of advice do you give them, or what could you give anyone who's listening that want to enter the space? What kind of advice do you give them?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's to start off, we use this kind of like we are early statement around left and right within the space, which I definitely think we are. So, being 10, 11 months in feels like an eternity because NFT space moves so quick and there's so much going on. And looking back, it's just about 4 or 5 months that we start seeing brands actually coming into the space, right? Some have done it right, others in a questionable manner, depending on your point of view. And it's been really exciting to see the difference, to see the different approach, and the crypto community and the NFT community. It's mainly, composed by people that have been around for quite a while, within the crypto space or DeFi space or blockchain space. So it's really interesting to see how people can, sense or sort of like have a good radar for, things that not necessarily are thought through or authentic. And it's really interesting when you see brands coming in and then in a second people are already like cash grab, like it's really funny to see that because people have that sense, So to your point, that's for me one of the main things that brands should be looking into right now, right? How can I enter this space in the most authentic manner? How can I add value to the people that are within the space and within those communities? Those two pillars for me are essential. And I think, I could count in 3 or 2 fingers, brands so far that have done that. So, I think, again, we are very early. There's a lot of things to be discovered. If we are early from a text standpoint, if we are early from a community standpoint, imagine how early we are from a brand standpoint, right? From like a company standpoint. So it's interesting. I feel we are in this situation on which, brands have the opportunity to be an early adopter and sort of like enter the space, quite quick. But then at the same time, they have to take decisions really quick, which is not the norm for big and large corporations because things just take way too long. And that, comes a lot of times with a cost on which you just come straight in the space and do something because you want to, make a statement. And that sometimes is not the best way to do it. So I feel it's a really difficult challenge. And I'm not trying to make it, sound easy, because I understand inside out the difficulties. But I think if, anyone within the audience or is starting a conversation within a brand, about getting into the space, I think two main things should be the first two questions. The first one is, how can we add value? And that the second one is, how can we be authentic? Because if we start from other angles, which is normally the case, a lot of brand CMOs or marketeers are seeing NFTs or metaverse as a new channel where they can push products. It won't work. It's a different environment. You cannot see that as let's do the same strategy we did for CRM, or let's do the same strategy we did for our .com ambitions. Let's do the same strategy we've done for rolling out our new app. It's a whole different game. It's about culture. It's about community. It's not just a new channel. And I think, that mentality, I hope that mentality starts to shift a little bit around, because is one of the main challenges I've seen for brands, one, to get into the space and be respected, or to create real world impact.
Yeah, definitely. So you said that you can think of a couple brands who have really done it right. So how would you say they've done it right? What value did they add, or what do you see that just made you think, yeah, that's the one?
Yeah, it's exactly based on what I just mentioned, right? So if you think about brands that have got into this space and just created something because they want to create something, like McDonald's, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, they just put an NFT out and hope for the best. There was so far I haven't really seen true what actually happened with those projects. I haven't seen a really big and really engaging community being built around it, and a really exciting not necessarily a roadmap, but sort of like initiatives that are being taken. So I think that that's one way that has been done, which, brands tend to think that because they were around for so long and they're like worldwide known, people care. And a lot of times people don't, and it's a hard pill to swallow. So I think that those brands are now learning that instead of building communities from scratch, they have to join communities and take part on. And that brings me to the answer to your question, the ones that have done it right. I won't go into names because I think it's not necessarily the case, but it's more about the approach, right? So if you think about how do you add value, you have to bring the platform that your brand represents, and you have to bring the audience that comes with your brand and the value, the heritage, and sort of like the branding that you have, and you need to bring that into already existing space. So, imagine joining communities that are already established, that already have been around for a while, that resonate with your brand more than anything else, that, it's going to be authentic when you come in, and then joining that and understanding, how you can add value, how you can make something for their community. How can you guys or girls work together on creating, something on top of both brands? So it's all about collaboration. It's all about partnership. It's not about here's me, this 75, 80 years old organization coming in, and everybody cares about me in the real world, and everybody's going to care about me in NFT and metaverse space. So I will do my own thing. It's a whole different thing. Now it's about, joining communities, getting together and creating added value for everyone. I tend to say that for me, Web3 stands for win-win-win. It's a win for the brand, it's a win for the community, and it's a win for the creator. And if that relationship isn't in place, it's going to be really hard to get traction on the long term. Yes, you can come in and like put a nice presentation and show to the board, and now you are inside the metaverse. Yes, you can come in and make a couple $100 million because, you just flip like a couple NFTs within the community and everybody was stoked that this brand's part of it now, but then is that 3, 4, 5 months from now because there is no follow up behind. Yes, you can drive traffic to social media and prove that, yes, there is engagement within the NFT community and the brand should be investing more time in that space. But those are metrics and ways of approaching that are very Web2, and that's what's exciting, what's happening right now. We are shifting not just from, there is this new platform, which is NFTs. There is this new entire universe that's being built. That's, the metaverse. but there is also a whole new suite of technologies that's Web3 technologies, blockchain, tokenomics, the actual backbone of the internet is being built and developing as we talk. So all those things should be taken in consideration while brands want to come into the space and sort of like, join the party, so to say. And I think that trying to move fast is being made, in a fast way, which sometimes is not necessarily the best approach because those things are not being taken into consideration.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So if I understand correctly, then your advice would be for brands to kind of go towards open blockchain networks rather than going for private blockchains, or not?
Well, I mean, it's more about the community, right? If you're talking about projects, let's say a very big brand that's relevant for a woman, for example. I don't know. You give me an example because I think you're in a better position than I.
Oh, jeez, no.
I don't know, L'Oreal.
Sure.
Is that a good example?
Why not? Yeah.
Okay. So imagine L'Oreal coming in, right? If we are approaching and applying that framework I was talking about, you can look into projects that have been being led and created by women. Like Word of Woman is a great example within the NFT space. Boss Beauty is a great example within the NFT space. That Fellas is a great example within the NFT space. Let's stick to sort of like those three as an example. Imagine you coming in as a brand and then you start building a strategy hand on hand with those community leaders on which, what is the biggest issue we have within NFT space right now or crypto space right now? It's majority male dominated. 90 or 85%. I don't know exactly the stats. I don't even know if you have stats, but you feel it. And obviously you understand and know much better than I. So how can we tackle that problem with the community as a brand to bring and educate and accelerate the adoption of women within the space? Mm-hmm. Like, what an incredible cause to join, first of all. Secondly, what an incredible manner to enter the space because you're, taking part on a cause that's really relevant. And then you're doing that with people that are already doing that within the space by the most authentic manner and that are already creating impact. So that's kind of what I mean when I say, how can you come in an authentic manner? How can you come in a way that is adding value for everyone, for example? And that's how I feel that, very few brands have spent time to think that entering the space is not necessarily creating an NFT. You don't need to create an NFT. You can join communities. You can, create impact. You can use your platform to bring those communities and bring awareness and educate your audience. So there's several different ways of tackling it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In that sense, then, are there specific places or tools that you would point brands towards to get started on the right foot?
It's difficult.
Sure.
It's difficult because we are early again, right? We're gonna keep coming back to me saying we are early throughout the whole show because that's the truth. So I feel we are in a very interesting gray space right now, which after Christmas is being insane because the inbound and the amount of people reaching out after Christmas was really high. And I think, and that's my gut feeling, that a lot of people got together on Christmas time or holidays for people that don't celebrate Christmas, obviously. They got together by end of last year. And then there was that one person within the family that was like, have you ever heard of NFTs?
Sure.
And that conversation started, right?
Yep.
And after that, and then, people are part of organizations, people are leading companies and all of it. And I think that start like echoing within organizations and companies. And a lot of that conversation is happening right now. So I think there's two ways a lot of companies and brands and organizations are approaching it. One is they get the phone and they call to whoever they've been working already for years, like let's say consulting groups or, Web2 agencies. And they just drop a briefing on that. We have to go inside the metaverse. Bring something up. The people on the other side of the line don't understand it yet because, again, we are early. The people that are doing the briefing might understand a little bit because, again, we are early. So, that conversation is still sort of like the blind guy in the blind, or, a lot of like understanding or lack of information. And that's one side. The other side is, brands that were either really lucky enough to have people within the organization that have been in the space, that has spent a lot of time within the space. That can be 10 months, that can be 1 year max, because again, we are early. So if those brands were lucky enough to have those people that are passionate enough to invest the energy to kind of like educate and convert everyone, and then get together and build something, those are sort of like the ways I think things are moving and approaching. There is no expert in the topic. There are people that have been spending more time, or there are people, OGs that have been around for a while. So I don't have like a set of tools apart from, roll the sleeve and get involved. Because right now everyone is trying to figure out what is this about, right? If you think, oh yeah, everybody knows now Bored Apes, for example, but it's a project that 7 or 8 months ago didn't existed. And if you haven't spent the last 5-6 months trying to figure out and understand the ins and outs, it's really, really difficult to onboard or to point like, oh, there is a SharePoint that everything you can ever imagine is in there. Education is a huge issue right now. One, because the amount of time that the space exists isn't that long, specifically NFTs. NFTs, as we know, obviously from 2017-16, things have been around already, but was a very a handful of people that were involved back then. But I think the education aspect right now is where a lot of people are catching up. And everyone that reaches out to me, I've helped onboarding more than 200 people to this space. Everyone that reaches out to me is also always asking, what is the tool? Like, where do I learn of it? There is like a Bible or anything like that. I was like, no, there isn't. I have 300 links that I bookmarked and I send to people depending on the level they are, and some YouTube channels. But getting involved, I think, is the best tool right now. Is you don't need to purchase, you don't need to invest if you're not keen to do it, which is absolutely fine. But you can get involved on Discord, you can get into communities, you can follow projects on Twitter, you can, listen to what other people that have been around a little bit longer have to say. And is that difficult, because when you're a CMO, you obviously don't have the time to do it. And, the people you usually would ring for advice or consultancy are still trying to catch up. So I think that's the difficulty at the time. And education is being, a big issue that I know, more and more is becoming, easier, but still we are very early when it comes to education as well.
Okay, sure. So outside of education, is there any kind of tool or something that you think is still missing from the space that you would like to see to help with this process?
In which sense? You mean like in general?
Sure. Anything regarding getting brands into the space?
Well, I think one of the biggest issue brands are facing is basically liability and the legal aspects of getting involved with cryptocurrencies, right?
Okay.
By far. Every time I'm joining meetings or I'm in boardrooms talking to people, everyone is just like, how do I add ETH to my balance sheet? Because we are a public traded company. And if Bitcoin or ETH are going down, how do I justify to my investor that the company is 50% down? The revenue from the company is 50% down because, China just banned Bitcoin again and is, 40% down overnight. Mm-hmm. So like solving that issue with a tool, for example, or platforms, I know there are already, solutions out there, but I think we need that on an enterprise level. We need to start, getting that within either already existing enterprise platforms that are adding that to their suite of technologies, or someone or some company coming out and leading the space, because this is the main blocker right now. Every time people are like, okay, cool, we're keen to learn. We could definitely find a budget for it. We think and we understand the trends and we see the value and we see where people are spending time and their attention on. But how do we fix the liability issue? How do I get my legal team on board to say yes for this thing? How do I get like corporate to agree with this? That's a big issue. And I think, onboarding brands and bringing brands to the space you're going to come a lot of times to that specific detail of how do we manage, the transition from cryptocurrencies to fiat, or how do we get, that into balance sheet or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. In your educated opinion, are there specific brands or even just industries that you think will have maybe an easier time transitioning?
Oh yeah, 100% gaming, the gaming industry.
Sure.
They're going to kill it. It's going to be incredible.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
This
Outside
summer,
of that, though?
this summer is going to be gaming and play to earn and all of it. It's going to be incredible. I keep saying that as loud as I can because it's going to be insane. I think they are coming big time to disrupt the industry. Apart from that, I think I'm surprised by the fashion industry. I'm surprised how quick and really not necessarily quick. Well, quick is the word because everything happened very fast, but also sort of like, seemed to be a very smooth transition. I think the fact that there is a lot of conversations around metaverse and a lot of conversations around digital fashion and digital wearables, I think it made a bit easier for fashion brands or sports brands or luxury brands to understand the value proposition on why someone would pay 20 grand for a digital pair of shoe. And I think they're going to have not necessarily an easier or easy time, but I think a lot of them have sort of like start to grasp it. I've seen, like Gucci has done some really cool things. I'm biased, but Adidas has done some really cool things.
Sure.
Prada has done some cool things. So I see those brands sort of like coming in and getting it, a bit faster than others, I expected, consumer goods, for example, like, as I said before, Coca-Cola or Pepsi or McDonald's, because one of the size of the organizations and two, the sort of like, marketing working budget that I know they work with. I expected more from those brands just because it's such a easier sell when it comes to, what they do. But I think it became harder, for them to do something as engaging or as exciting as fashion. And just because maybe, there is this one-to-one for fashion with wearables and digital fashion, as I mentioned before. So yeah, gaming fashion, I think, they're going to have a easier manner, obviously. I think who has a lot of advantage, but I haven't seen any big plays yet is, the IP industry, right? So when you think about either music or entertainment, that space is insane, is ready to be disrupted, right? And there is an NFT and blockchain and all those technologies offer such a great perspective for them, when it comes to, IP ownership or proof of ownership or royalties that can be in perpetuity through smart contracts. I mean, it's the perfect platform. Obviously, those plays are really big because they involve a lot of the old world, not even Web2, but the older world, which is, agents and all those things. So I'm excited to see what's going to come from that sector.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Talking about a lot of these bigger brands, I've got to bring it to Facebook and Meta. What kind of impact do you think they will have on the metaverse?
It's difficult. I have 2 points of view, and my two personas think different.
Okay.
And I take a hat and I put a hat. So my community hat on, NFT DGen, someone that really, really cares about the community and spend a lot of time on Discord, building, adding value, trying to get involved in projects. I feel it's, and I've sensed that from the community a lot, that we could be at risk to bring Web2 mentality that has brought us to a very, very dark corner into Web3 as well. And I don't deny the value that Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Google, and all those major companies have brought into society when it comes to people getting together, connecting, expanding social media. All of that is undeniable, has been an incredible positive change for the world. No one can question that. but the business approach on the behind the scenes through, the way data was exploited, or the way, privacy was not necessarily one of the main priorities. That's what concerns me a little bit. If that mentality comes in, is because we still, really thinking more on the romantic and utopian world that Web3 is going to solve all those issues and it's going to be the perfect solution, and privacy going to be the main aspect, and we're going to be able to sell our data rather than letting those big whales profit from us. Like, all those conversations is still embedded on a lot of communities that I'm part of. And I feel that type of move, it could potentially be a threat. And then, a couple of years from now, we're going to be like, okay, what about Web 4?
This didn't work. Try
exactly.
again.
So that's my community hat on, right? The romantic Diego. On the other side, like from a consulting and business aspect, I think they have the power to bring the masses, which the only way this space is going to develop and go to what, a mass adoption would look like, is by companies like that coming in and bringing like their audiences. I mean, there is a billion. I think there's a billion users on WhatsApp, if I'm not mistaken. Don't even know the numbers for like Facebook and Instagram. So there is no question that as soon as they start moving to that direction, they will bring that audience with them, and they're going to connect other tools with it. So that will definitely bring mass adoption that is so needed, because we've been talking about it for a long time, especially in crypto. So that's kind of like how I see it. It's sometimes maybe, depending on the point of view, you're going to have different angles, but that's kind of like how I see it from my two perspectives.
Great. Okay. It's good to have both sides of the story.
It's important. Otherwise you become an extreme, and that's not a good point.
Sure. Good. So with that mass adoption, and with all these brands entering the space, obviously there will be a lot less technical users in a pretty technical space. Do you think that'll create a lot of frustration, or not so much? Or what will we need to do to bring them and keep them in?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Mainly when it comes, for example, things like Ethereum. I am an Ethereum maxi, but I'm like, in general, I'm a networking maxi, right? I like all networks, and I think, they all should work together. I tend to say, is the core of, blockchain cryptocurrencies is like us against the man, not us against each other, right? So I don't believe on those like, oh, Bitcoin, I'm like, just do Bitcoin, I just do Solana, I just do Polygon, I just do Avalanche, I just do Ethereum. I don't believe on that type of conversation. But one thing we can deny is that right now we use the mainnet of Ethereum, which is such a stupid idea for NFTs, and we are like destroying the system day by day because of gases. And when we get people that have never traded anything, their first thing, the first drop, the first NFT, the first whatever move they're going to do within the space, they join and they have to pay like $200 for a transaction. I don't think they're going to come back, or I don't think they're going to confirm and like, oh, cool, I'll pay $200 to get this image that's worth like 20 that I find it's cool. So, I think that's a huge aspect. I know there's a lot of things happening in the background. I know that migrating to L2 or to layer 2, I think that, I'm not a blockchain specialist, by the way, that's just my gut feeling.
Sure.
I think that could be a great way of, getting rid of stuff like that and getting an easier adoption. But UX in crypto and NFT and blockchain in general is horrible. It's horrible. How many times I lost money sending, clicking the wrong button because it's not clear what that button does. And then you realize after on chain that, your money's gone. Or how many times I've sent something wrong to the wrong place, or, it's really, really bad. And I think there are two main businesses right now that could, crush it. And I hope someone is building it. One is community management at scale. So, like Discord and Twitter and all those type of platforms at scale, how you get, that thing to work. And secondly is disrupting the user experience that currently is within the space, like OpenSea is a great example. LooksRare came out looking much more edgy, looking much more user friendly, having like great features and being really responsive. And there we go. A lot of people are trading looks right now. MetaMask as well. Like, I have harder times with MetaMask because I love it, but at the same time, there's so many, small glitches or user experience aspects to it that I'm just, oh my god, it's difficult. Hard wallets the same when you start talking about safety and security. It's the technical aspect is still a very, 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 very high barrier for newcomers, and even though companies like Coinbase, Binance are more like on the Web2 world because they are centralized and is not necessarily, again, what the romantic Diego would love to have within the space. They are doing a much better job than the decentralized tools on having like great UX or great support or great communication. So I'm really excited to see the change that's going to happen as soon as Coinbase comes in. And bring, 67 million people from their user base into the space with really, really exciting UX. I've seen the demo on the product, looks incredible. It's like, Instagram on chain for NFTs. It's going to be really exciting. So I think, those type of moves going to be needed for other projects or products to wake up and understand that not everybody gets this crypto thing. And if you want a mass adoption, we're going to need to do it better.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, you're talking about a lot of opportunity for the Web3 builders there. How would you suggest or recommend that they get involved?
Yeah, I think, again, going back to LooksRare, by the way, I'm not invested or anything. I just really find it cool. Okay. I really enjoy the way they've done. I wish I would have been invested, but nobody asked me. I really enjoy the way they did it with the airdrop. I think we had like by end of the last year and the beginning of this year, we had this airdrop mechanic on which they, a couple different projects just dropped coins in people. And then they were like, we will build something. And if you hold and believe and trust and stake and give value back, you're gonna have a benefit. Right. And I'm seeing the first one that I've seen within NFT space so far that has gone from that sort of like bootstrapping through airdrop. That usually tends to be more like on the blockchain or crypto space rather. That's doing really well. I'm keeping a really close look at how that develops because I think it's a really good manner. You add value to the community first, and then you build community around the launch of the product, and then you deliver a really, really incredible product that is solving a lot of problems. And then you huddle around with the community that they already had initially, and you keep adding value, right? Right now it's still obviously really early with that. I think the platform might be 3 weeks old. But I've used quite a lot and I really enjoy. And I think those types of, strategies, might be something that we're going to be seeing more and more in the future, just getting like, I know they got with a lot of experts from the space. They got a lot of feedback, from like how to do it right. And so far, in my opinion, they're crushing it.
Cool. Yeah, that's a lot of what I had to ask there. So, is there any other information you want to give us here?
I can rant about the future and NFTs and blockchain for hours. So I don't know,
I'm sure. I'm sure. Cool. All right. So yeah, then my other last question or other main question here is, who do you think we should have on Venly Expert Talks next?
Good question. So many people. So many good people. Have you guys spoke to G Money already?
G Money? I don't think so.
No? Oh my god. Yeah, like G is he's incredible. He's obviously extremely busy and he does his own things, but I really appreciate the value he brings to the space. The thread that he has pinned on his Twitter, like that was the first thread I read into NFTs, and is basically him talking about why he paid 150 ETH on a CryptoPunk back in the day. Was the largest purchase, and sort of like created this whole domino effect of CryptoPunks getting where they got. And when I first read that thing, I was like, whoa, now I get it. Now I understand why this is all about. And he's that type of guy, I know him personally. He's a great person. And every time I sit on the table with him, it's just like mind-blowing conversations, and someone that, imagine like if we are having this type of conversation, being around the space for like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 months, imagine someone that has been around for like 2 years, where their brain is at, what are things they're seeing. So, that type of people, I think it's valuable. I think like G is a great example. But there's a bunch of other OGs in the space that, it's exciting to listen to, because they tend to don't talk a lot, but more writing on Twitter or being a bit behind a keyboard. But it's always, exciting to hear.
Okay, awesome. It's a great resource. Thanks. Yeah, so is there anything that you want to plug? Anything exciting you're working on right now you want to get people excited about?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple things I'm involved, but there is one specific project that I'm really excited about. It's called Nemus.earth. That's the shoe. Go check the website. No, I'm kidding. This project is incredible. So, like basically in a very, very, very short way, what the team has done, they purchased 41,000 hectares of land in the middle of the Amazon forest. And they're launching an NFT project around that to sort of like create, to distribute that land, the digital ownership of that land through NFTs. Everything aimed at protecting and preserving the area, not just the forest and the fauna and flora, but also the local community that lives around the land and depends on the land for living. One aspect that is really interesting for me is obviously the real world impact on which we now have the power to get together as people and community and, create positive impact on the environment, but also positive impact in people's life. So that's incredibly exciting. And then the other aspect for me is, again, going back to mass adoption, and education, right? By using the suite of technologies that they are using. So they're using everything that Web3 offers, right? Smart contracts, DAOs, tokenomics, NFTs, you name it, digital land, loads of different DeFi gamifications aspects to it as well. By using those type of tools, in a cause that, has positive or can have positive impact, in the world, I think it's going to be really easy to make people understand why those tools are important and make people expand their minds that is not all about penguins and apes and dog pictures that you can buy for tens of thousands of dollars that nobody really grasps apart from people that are in the space. So that's what is really exciting for me. And that's why I got involved, because I think we're going to tackle two different aspects that are very, very important right now.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, your enthusiasm is infectious. Thanks for coming on and talking to me today. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. It was great talking to you and hearing your opinions and ideas. And I look forward to hearing more from you in the future.